While on paper, he has vector thrust, he has all these great weapons and everything, he looks the same as a Raptor, he's nowhere near the same as a Raptor. So that was a really good thing for us to find out that we really didn't know until this past exercise happened. Now, what I'm scared of is Congress is going to hear that and they're going to go, great, we don't need to buy any more airplanes, you know, y'all can make those. No. We used to be way ahead of them. Now they've caught up to us and they're really just a little bit. And I say they're a little bit ahead of us because when their pilots learn how to fly the airplane, they'll be able to beat the F-15 and F-16 on a regular basis. Right now, their young guys get too anxious. They go into that post-stall maneuvering where the airplane kicks down, and now they're great. But that's only a matter of time before they learn that don't go there unless you have to. As far as red flag went, we also had the French up here in the Rafale. The French were only going to bring out the Mirage 2000-5, which is one of their older airplanes, until the Indians said they were bringing their newest thing, the Su-30. And then the French all of a sudden said, hey, we're going to bring in the Rafale. And we go, well, you've never brought that to the States before. And they go, yeah, we're bringing it now. And they brought it out, and 90% of the time they followed the Indians in. And when the Indians shot or got shot or whatever, the French took a shot and left. And they never really came to any merges, which anybody that flew with them in Iraq during Desert Storm or during any of the peacekeeping missions know what they would do is when the Americans would go and do the peacekeeping act up north, they would stay over Bahrain and down at Al's Garage and fly local sorties and say, yeah, we're participating in the war. What they were really doing is they had all their sensors on, sniffing and seeing how our radars worked. And really, that's all they did out here is they came out and they watched the whole fight with their newest airplane and their newest electronic receiving units and sucked up all the trons in the air. The Indians were very disappointed in the fact that well, first off, I got to say, they learned the lessons very well at Mount Home. They were extremely professional. They never flew out of the airspace, which we were very concerned about. They had 0 training rule violations, and that in itself was incredible. We were very impressed, and we thanked them so much because they were very, very professional, and we were concerned they weren't going to be. Where they had problems was they killed a lot of friendlies. And that happened because the first 2 days of red flag, and red flag is different than it used to be. Now, the first week of red flag is basically large force employment like the old red flag was. The second week of red flag is a campaign where the surface-to-air missiles come up, and as you take them out, they start attriting, and you have less and less surface-to-air missiles. Same goes for red air. The first week, red air can regenerate, but we take our time regenerating. We regenerate slowly. The second week, we end up to where you can only regenerate twice, and then if they're killing you a lot, you can only regenerate once, and then you're gone. So it's like a real war campaign. Well, guess what? If you frat the blue side, the blue loses forces that it's allowed to bring to the war also. And their problem was their systems didn't have the combat ID capability. And they were the only people, the French, we had the South Koreans here with brand spanking new F-15Ks. Gorgeous airplanes. Right off the factory showroom floor, they had AESA radars, which is what we have in the F-22, that we sold them in these F-15Ks. They had Israeli jamming pods and Israeli targeting pods on them, and they were incredible airplanes. Now, in the South Koreans' defense, they were very professional also, but they had maybe 50 hours total in the F-15, no hours in these airplanes. So they were still learning how to fly it, and they did fairly well. But they had no frat. Why? Because they were in the big internet with us, fighter data link. The French were in the data link with us, the Koreans were in the data link with us, all the US forces were in the data link, the AWACS was in the data link, the Indians were in their own Russian-made data link. So they're running around with no computer picture of where the fight is. And they're going, and they're yelling to AWACS, they're going, hey, I've got a contact on my nose, 22 miles, friendly or hostile. Well, AWACS comes back and goes, there are no hostiles within 40 miles of you. Fox! You go, oh, dude. You know, and they're going, they were just scared to death because in the first 3 days of the war, they had some losses. And they had losses because they were holding their shots, waiting to hear if it was a bad guy or a friendly, and then they were dying. So they go, well, you know what? it's better you die instead of I die. And so they had a fairly high number of fratricides in the second week. And they took it very seriously. They were very concerned because one of the things that they fought for was to come to fly in red flag at Nellis. Well, red flag at Nellis, set up by all the 4 stars a long time ago, was to form coalitions with guys we were going to go to war with. So we had to be able to fight with these guys. The South Koreans, God forbid the French, the Brits, the Aussies, all these guys, even the Germans, but not somebody like the Indians. The Indians were set to go to red flag Alaska because that's where General Gregory set up to do PACAF, friendship building and building partnerships. And you go up to red flag Alaska, guess what? The training rules are different. The kill criteria is a little different. Fratricide's looked at a little different, you know, because you have all these different countries that are playing that normally wouldn't go to war with us, but we want to be friends with, because there is no 2 countries that border each other in PACAF that are friends. Every single country that borders another country in PACAF has some kind of dispute going on with them. So we're not so concerned about building a lot of coalitions with them. We just want to make them all friends and work together enough so that they're not trying to blow each other up with nukes. So they came, though, to red flag Nellis thinking that they were going to be able to mix right in and be part of the coalition, and they learned in a big way that that wouldn't happen. That's it, guys. That's it in a nutshell. Yes, sir.
Wasn't that ISA radar a big factor in the Indian?
Well, the radar on the Su-30 in the nose of it is not an AESA, it's an ESA. And the difference is an active electrically scanned radar or an electrically scanned radar. And that while it's just one little letter, the A, it's a huge difference because an actively scanned ESA radar goes out and pings more and sees more and is more accurate than just a passively scanned radar, which is good, but ends up having more technical problems in discriminating and finding the right guy.
Now, General Pauling over the Hawaii Air National Guard,
yes, sir,
made a little statement the other day that the F-15 is the last dogfight airplane. He discounted the fact that the F-22 is terrific in the fight, in close.
He did, and I don't know General Pauling, and I don't want to get sideways with him. I got sideways with General Bruce last time, and I don't want to get sideways anymore.
But it's easy. Bruce is tough.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I think the Raptor is the next great dogfighter we have.
Sure.
Now the reason is electronic jamming, but not only electronic jamming. The Raptor, we just don't carry enough missiles. We're going to have to, when the balloon goes up, we're going to have to go in and gun some people. And it's going to happen, and thank God the Raptor still has a gun on it. And it's fast, it's maneuverable, it can get there. And I know my F-16 brethren are going to get a good joke out of this. And Pete, I apologize, but the Block 50 F-16, when it doesn't carry a pod, is a pretty damn good dogfighter also. So those 3 airplanes, the F-15, the Block 50 F-16, and the Raptor, are all still very, very capable, and we're going to need them because that little Bison MiG-21 I talked about earlier, when he gets in unseen because he's got a small radar cross-section, he's got a big jamming pod, and he gets here to the last minute, and you're maneuvering against this active radar missile that just showed up. Luckily, our RWR sees it. You go, holy shit, where did that come from? That little son of a bitch, I need to go kill him. Now you're going to need that maneuverability.
What about the F-35? Where's that?
Let's save that for another discussion.
Good call.
Shed and I do a lot of work in the 422, so we know too much about it at this point. But we'll save that one for another time. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, I probably went over my 15 minutes, I'm sure.
No. That's
all right.